Right now, delighted to welcome, waiting on that, I very much appreciate you waiting, Sarah Pochin, former UK MP for Runcorn and Helsby. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Julia. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Well, thank you. I just wondered actually if you wanted to give a response, obviously, to those arrests and those charges. We haven't got anyone named, but again, the concern, and we saw this. I know it's something that Reform have been talking a lot about in terms of the grooming gangs. You've got institutional failure, police, social work, and others. Just let's councillors don't make a fuss, keep everything quiet. Institutional failure, and we've had this again and again in whether there's been a failure of a useless surgeon or inadequate maternity care, or in this case a serial killer nurse working at this hospital. Failure of management, it would appear, to take action.
Yeah, once again, Julia, we're seeing what's supposed to be trusted institutions for members of the public, like a hospital here, the Countess of Chester, and clearly there's been gross misconduct by someone, and I would imagine plenty in management that knew what was going on. And it's another classic example, I'm sure, where whistleblowers were too afraid to come forward. And there needs to be a thorough investigation. Yes, we have Lucy Letby convicted and in prison. I know that there's a campaign about that, but the fact is, I'm not here to comment on that. Of course. But clearly there's a whole bigger picture here of who knew what, who allowed what to happen. But at the end of the day, hospitals are places where the public should be able to go, feel safe, and feel that they will be looked after and their babies looked after. In this case, absolutely tragic set of circumstances. But what this will do, Julia, is increase the speculation amongst the public of whether or not Lucy Letby is guilty of the charges she's been found guilty of. And of course, as soon as you get increased speculation with the public, my view is that you have to have an investigation quickly, because it just increases the tension.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's move on to what we did invite you to talk about, and that, of course, is this welfare reform vote. The Keir Starmer is a massive climb down, major U-turn, big concessions to the Labour rebels, 126 of them. Got it down to, we think now, 40, 50, 60 maybe, who are saying they'll either vote against or abstain on the bill tonight. Means he'll still get the measures through, but with a working majority of 126 ostensibly, 156, that's pretty poor in the first year in office for this new Prime Minister. How is Reform going to vote?
Reform will vote against this bill this afternoon because we think in so many ways it's ill thought through. And I think the actions of the Prime Minister in recent days are really concerning, and members of the public are seeing a Prime Minister who is U-turning yet again. So in my short time here, this is the third U-turn, but U-turning on major government policy. And not only that, Julia, claiming that he was confused, he's been abroad, he's taken his eye off the ball. I know from my constituents in Runcorn and Helsby that when they come over into my office in tears because they're concerned about their disability benefits being cut and the effect and the impact it's going to have on their day-to-day lives, how serious this is. Well, the Prime Minister clearly hasn't taken it that seriously, because he by his own admission, has taken his eye off the ball. He's U-turning. But the worst thing about this U-turn, Julia, just to add, is I feel he's U-turning to get the vote through. He's not U-turning because he understands or has a strong conviction on the policy. Well, that's just a crisis situation.
He can't have a strong conviction if he's willing to U-turn, by definition. I don't understand why Reform are voting against this bill. I mean, we had a health and disability benefit bill, 40 billion quid in 2019. Since 2020, lockdown and, of course, people being assessed on Zoom and the mental health crisis apparently all of our young people think they're going through. They're not going through. They think they're going through. A £100 billion bill by 2030. An extra 1,000 people a day coming onto those benefits. It's now no longer going to affect anyone already claiming benefits. I think it should, but it's going to only affect people from November 2026. So literally 18 months' time is going to affect some people who are going on to a tiny level from then. That is the most tiny, bare minimum of welfare reform we could have possibly hoped for.
Precisely.
And you're not voting for it?
Precisely. Why would we vote for something that is...
But it's better than nothing. Because it's better than nothing.
No, it's half-baked, it's half thought through, and instead of having a cut-off of new claimants, what we need to do is assess properly the claimants going forward. That means face-to-face assessments, no more of this online stuff. How can you really tell what's going on with an individual unless you see them face to face. And also the waste and the abuse of this welfare system by people in this country, currently in this country, in terms of, I was only reading in the paper this morning examples of where people are getting disability benefits because they're suffering from acne, disability benefits, because they've got OCD. Well, that phrase is bandied around all the time at the moment. The point is we need to get back to proper assessments, because otherwise you don't just have a blanket cut-off point of new claimants or whatever.
It's not a cut-off point. No, but it's not a blanket cut-off point. It's about applying new rules in terms of your assessments for the points from November 2026 to make it tougher. That should be applied now, for goodness sake. Every single person should be reassessed now, so that people who need the benefits will get them. This is the problem. Every single MP says, we need to have reform. But don't take it away from anybody. We don't want to take it away from people who need it. But do you genuinely believe that 1,000 more people a day, every day in this country, need these benefits?
Exactly. So don't vote for a bill that leaves the situation as it is for all the people that are currently claiming benefits. That is not the way forward. The way forward is to go back, to reassess these people, and all the people that are taking advantage of the system need to be stopped.
Okay, so wait a minute. How come you think that, your party, and yet you're in favour of scrapping the two-child benefit cap?
Well, the two-child benefit cap is all about, that's a whole different subject, and that's all about supporting hardworking young couples who both want to go out to work.
No, it's not. No, it's got nothing to do with that. The two-child benefit cap is about people who've got more than two children who are on benefits being able to claim extra benefit, not child benefit, but then everyone gets regardless of, up to a very high income. But that's about basically saying when you're on benefits, you don't get extra payments because you've got 3, 4, 5 or 6 children. Why on earth are you scrapping that?
Our view is that if you have two people out at work, not claiming benefits, trying to hold two jobs down.
You just said they're out of work.
Hold on, support a family, then they should be entitled to claiming child benefit because they're out work.
No, Sarah, this is not about child benefit. The two-child benefit cap is not about child benefit. It's other benefits that you can get when you are out of work. When you're claiming universal credit and you're out of work, that you can get, and it's worth, I think it's, is there something like about 4 or 5 grand a year or something? That's not child benefit like that, you get because you have a child, which everyone gets. It's not. We're talking about a huge extra sum.
But also, Julia, it is about the additional benefits you can get when you are to top up your household income when you are trying to hold down a job and go out to work.
No, it's not. No, I'm sorry. I know Nigel's talked about this and he's got it wrong as well. No, it's not. You're wrong about that. This is a benefit for people who've chosen to have more children than they can afford to look after. If you have 3 children and you're on benefits, may I suggest you get off your backside and get a sodding job to look after your 3 children, because there are millions of hardworking families, Sarah, who can't afford to have a 3rd child. They can't even afford to have a 2nd child. Many couples can't afford to have a 1st child because they're paying taxes to pay for people who are not paying for their own kids.
Julia, I could not agree with you more.
You don't even understand the policy you support.
No, our policy is about supporting hard-working people.
How does paying more money to people who've got more than 2 children who are on benefits help hard-working families?
This policy, in my understanding of this policy, is that we
don't understand it, Sarah.
No, Julia, is that we will be paying this child benefit in the way that I always think of child benefit to people who are out of work.
It's not child benefit. It's a cap on all the benefits you can have once you have got more than 2 children. It's not child benefit. I mean this very respectfully. If you're going to be an elected MP and you're going to have a chance to vote on these things and be part of policy, you and your stablemates and every MP in Parliament really need to know what you're talking about.
I couldn't...
Because this is my money you're spending.
Julia, I absolutely agree with you. And all I can tell you at this stage is that the policy of reform is to support, hardworking people.
It's not hardworking.
It's
not for hardworking people. It's for people who aren't working.
No, I agree. And in my view, if people are not working, I couldn't agree with you more.
So you agree with me that your policy is wrong?
I agree. What I'm telling you is that we will support hardworking people. If people are on benefits, I couldn't agree with you more that they should not
You
get
just
more
said you support that
child
policy.
benefit.
You just said you support that policy.
Reform is all about supporting families, young families that want to do the right thing, pay their taxes, go out to work. We will make sure that our policies, when our time comes, and it will come, support that section of society, whether it's through increasing the tax threshold or whether it's through supporting them in other ways.
I'm genuinely, I mean this with all due respect. I really would like you to go away and read up on this policy, because it is not the policy you think it is. You are quite wrong about that, and that's the reason why the vast majority of not just voters but reform voters are opposed to scrapping that two-child benefit cap. But let's move back on to where we are today. The government may probably get this reform through. There is another U-turn. We had the U-turn on the winter fuel allowance. We've had the U-turn on these diverse
on the grooming
benefits.
gangs.
On the grooming gangs, the public inquiry. We're likely to get one on the two-child benefit cap, because he'd spoken in the past, Keir Starmer, that he would not scrap that. He probably will. His MPs are up there. Who knows? We might even have a U-turn on the inheritance tax rate on farmers from some of the MPs who are now representing rural areas, who are worried about the reaction to that. Is this a Prime Minister who can push through any policy at all now, or has he lost all his authority even before a year in power?
I think the fact is the British people are looking at a Prime Minister who has lost control of his own policy. He's lost control of the finances of the country. And I'm sure before long, and possibly even by the end of today, he'll have lost control of his members of Parliament. So I would imagine that after a disastrous first year in office, and we're coming up to the first year, at the end of his first year, there are going to be some serious questions asked about who is setting policy and how this Prime Minister lacks conviction and, in fact, understanding of those policies. And let's face it, Julia, they are the party in government. So, yes, you can, quite rightly question me about whether I fully understand what our stance is on this, that and the other. But the fact is, we are not even the party of opposition, although, of course, we would say we are the party of real opposition.
The polls are saying you're going to be, at this rate, you'll be a cabinet minister in 4 years' time.
I hope so. But the point is that Keir Starmer is in government, his party is in government, and if they don't understand the policies, if they are U-turning, then that looks like a weak and ineffective government.
How weak and ineffective is the new leadership of Warwickshire County Council? The chief executive has been criticised by Zia Youssef, who used to be your party chairman, is now running a sort of doge, effectively, for acting like the monarch of Warwickshire after what's her name, Monica Fogarty, refused to take down the pride flag flying outside their county hall. She says they have flown this flag for every Pride Month. I hate to say it's July now. Pride Month is finally over. But she's been requested by the 18-year-old new leader of the authority, George Finch, one of the Reform councillors, to take the flag down, basically in line with Reform's policy of only flying British-related flags, not pride flags. She's not going to take it down. What happens next?
Well, the fact is I was a councillor for 8 years and I fully understand how these councils work. At the end of the day, the council should be run by the elected members, the elected borough councillors or district councillors, whatever type of council it is, not the officers, which in this case, the lead officer is the chief executive. So the leader of the council has the final say on what flag is flown over those council buildings. That is a Reform council, and therefore our policy is that we fly the Union Jack, quite rightly, over our council buildings. That pride flag needs to come down. It's not Reform policy. That's exactly what we're doing. And I'm afraid, we only need people in charge of these very important positions that are going to stand up and be proud of this country and our Union Jack.
Okay.